This is a chaos emerald that I found from my brother.
Hi.
Alright, the verse of the day today, I was reading in Mark chapter 8. So I'm reading, and there's this part where Jesus and his followers are walking along, and then large crowds come because the things that Jesus is saying and doing are super amazing. He would heal tons of people miraculously. So all these people are with him, and then Jesus says, I'm going to paraphrase, but he says like, oh, all these people are here. I feel for them because they've been here for a long time and they need something to eat, or else they're going to like collapse on their way home, because some of them came a long distance. So Jesus says, what are we going to do about this? So he asks his disciples, how much bread do we have? And they said, we have 7 loaves of bread. You'd probably think, oh, that's where it ends. Oh, we tried. Jesus gave thanks, and he broke the bread and gave it to his disciples to give out to the people. They had a few fish as well. And you know what? Everyone was fed. Everyone got food. This is a miracle. About 4,000 men were present. 4,000! With 7 loaves and a few fish. A few small fish, it says. And Jesus was able to feed all of them. Okay, that's amazing. That's not the main part of this, though. And then it says, right after that it says the Pharisees, those were like the leaders of the Jewish religion. Pharisees came and began to question Jesus, to test him. They asked him for a sign from heaven. They asked him to prove that, what he's saying is true, and just give us a sign, give us a miracle. Did they not just see what happened? Even if they weren't there for it, I'm sure they would have heard about it. 4,000 people can't keep a secret. And then Jesus, it says he sighed deeply. And Jesus is like, and the thing he says was, why does this generation ask for a miraculous sign? I tell you the truth, no sign will be given to it. I think Jesus is pretty much saying, you know what, I've done all these things. If you're not going to believe those, there's nothing I can do to convince you. I've already shown you tons of things, and you just don't want to believe, so nothing I can do to change that. Then he left, he got into a boat and crossed to the other side of the lake. It says, the disciples had forgotten to bring bread. I thought that was kind of interesting. They must not have been hungry anymore after eating all that food. They didn't even think about bread. Except for 1 loaf. They did bring 1 loaf with them in the boat. And then Jesus says, be careful. Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. Think what he's saying here, because yeast, you use it to make bread, and what it does is it helps the bread to rise. The yeast, you work it through the whole bread, it just spreads throughout. Yeast is, I think it's like a sort of fungus thing, but the yeast, it works through the bread, sort of like an infection. It just goes through it all. I mean, it's supposed to. But Jesus is saying, watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees. I think what he's saying is, these guys, they're trying to spread all these rumors about me, all these false teachings about me. Watch out, because it could spread like a disease, like the yeast. But the disciples, they hear that very profound thing, and they latch onto that word yeast. He said yeast, because then it says, they discussed this with one another and said, it is because we have no bread. Jesus is disappointed in us because we don't have bread. We forgot the bread. They just latch onto that. Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked them, why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear? And don't you remember when I broke the 5 loaves of bread and for the 5,000? How many basketfuls did I have left? This was a time before. Jesus did the same thing before. And they said you had 12 basketfuls left after that. And then he says, and then when I broke 7 loaves just now for the 4,000, how many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? And they answered, 7. And he said to them, do you still not understand? I think Jesus is saying, why are you worrying about having 1 loaf of bread? Don't you know that I can provide for you with way less than that? And it hit me. I think I latch onto things sometimes. I see a problem and I just latch onto it. Even though Jesus has said, I'll take care of you. Give your problems to me. Cast your cares on me. Even before I read this today, I was thinking, you know what, I'm surrounded by God's Word. I grew up with it. I go to church. There's lots of good influences on my life. Even literally, I've written down Bible verses and I put them around the room over the years. And I was thinking, wow, I'm really surrounded by God's Word. But then I think, how much do I use it? How much do I take all this equipment that I have, God's Word, to use it, to have it so available? I mean, I probably have maybe I have quite a few Bibles in here. Right now I'm looking at like 5 right next to each other. God's Word is so available to me. Am I latching onto the wrong things? Am I focusing on the wrong things, on the problems? Or the amazingness of God? I mean, if I think about it, God can provide for me. It's obvious. I don't need a sign to show me. He's already given me signs in here. If I know that He can provide for 4,000 people with just a few things of bread, of course I know He's gonna be able to provide for me. So why am I worrying? Why do I latch on to problems like that? So my verse of the day that I picked out from here is verse 15 and 16, where it says, "Be careful," Jesus warned them, "watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod." They discussed this with one another and said, "It is because we have no bread." So I want to remind myself, I want God's Word to remind me today, don't latch on to the wrong thing. Look at the whole thing that God says. And remember that He cares for you and He can provide for you. Guys, I've been talking for a while, and this was just one chapter, one part of a chapter of God's Word. There's so much truth. There's so much wisdom. It's like the book of life. It's instructions for life. And that was just one chapter. Guys, I highly recommend, I super recommend that you read God's Word. A good place to start is the book of John. I'm pretty sure John is the one that shows a lot of His miracles in there. Alright, I know I don't look great because I just woke up. Actually, I didn't just wake. It's like 11:30. I am going to try to donate blood today. Donate platelets, actually. So they take stuff out. They take out the platelets, I guess, and they put stuff back in your other arm. I've tried to do this before, but I failed because they stuck me wrong or something. But I'm going to try again today. So we'll see how that goes. I don't super enjoy doing it. I get kind of woozy when they stick me. But it should be good. I hear that there's a huge shortage of platelets. And I guess platelets help cancer patients somehow. So I'll bring you along with me. See if there's anything interesting that happens throughout my day. But for now, let me shower. Ready. Got my Hanging with Jesus shirt on. Let's go. Give blood. Oh, goodness. Alright, here we are. Delta Blood Bank. Oh, look. Private parking. Here we go. I did it. Like I said before, not super enjoyable to do. At least I don't super enjoy it. But once I got through, it felt good that I was able to do it, especially because I failed last time. Alright, well, give blood. I'll put information in the description of how you could give blood if you want. Now I'm just gonna go shopping for groceries and get some bread for my grandma, so unless something interesting happens, I'm gonna end it off here. Thanks for watching. Keep hanging with Jesus.